Welcome back to the Experts in Fire podcast. Today we're going to talk about preparing your pre-existing gas fire pit for this year's first use. Let's get into it. Hey Randy, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you today, sir?
I am great, brother. I am great. Hey, today we are going to be talking about preparing your pre-existing gas fire pit for this year's first use. And this topic excites me because as we record this, we're literally sitting here at 7 degrees in the Detroit area?
All I know is it is cold outside, and try not to run outside because it's going to fill your lungs with air. Oh my goodness.
Man, it's cold. So just the thought of spring for us is exciting. This is the time of year. I met with my whole team yesterday, and I just asked them to help me get through February, right? March is a tease here in the Northeast. It's kind of like you get a nice day and then you get a really cold day, but February is the one that draws long for me. So I get excited to think about sitting around the fire pit. It's one of my favorite things to do. Have folks over, hang out, sit around fire, enjoy your favorite beverage, and just have company, let's hang out. So there are some things when it comes to starting a gas fire pit at the beginning of the season. And as we sit here at the end of January, beginning of February, I know I've lived all around the country. There are other states who are going, what, you guys shut your fire pits down? Or, maybe even some states who are looking at it going, yeah, maybe for January. So for the first use of the year, we just want to go through a quick checklist for homeowners, and then we're going to talk to our pros as well about what things you should be looking for and what you should do. And Mr. Randy Mowry over here has brought a checklist for us to discuss. Randy, what should be the first thing that folks do as they walk out to their fire pit for the first use, first time this year?
No, and it's a good thing to cover, and it's a quick and simple list like you had mentioned. First and foremost, if you have a cover on it, let's get that cover off. It's probably been sitting on there all fall and winter long with the rain and the snow. Let's get the cover off. Let's let that fire pit breathe a little bit. And while you're doing that, we want to just make sure that there's no debris, in and around that fire pit where the burner is. Getting any kind of leaves, things like that maybe have gotten in there, trapped in there, or maybe we had some critters try to create a home up in there, so, because, all that stuff is ultimately it's gonna burn, and it just creates a mess if you don't get it out of there. I've even had some folks that actually pull out all of their media with a shop vac, whether it's like lava rock or fiberglass, and really get in there and do kind of a detail cleaning around everything.
Little side note on that, because Randy and I have done this before. If you have glass in your fire pit, it is smart to take it out. Some people put it right into buckets and kind of wash it, get it cleaned up. But wear gloves, lots and lots of gloves. People see it and they think, oh, it's just nuggets. Well, no, it's still glass. So be smart, use gloves.
Yeah, because if what happens is with that's a good point. So we pour our media in there, and if we don't kind of pre-wipe it or down or transfer it into a bucket like you mentioned, wash it off, lay it out to dry like that first time, we pour it out of the bag, you could have frays of glass, shards of glass in there.
Yep.
So definitely a good point. So you can get in there and do a detail cleaning. That always, is always a good thing to do. If you have the time, if you have the tools to do it, you can do it. And just check your surroundings. Seeing if anything changed. Maybe you had a landscaper out there doing some planting for the fall. And so just confirming your clearances around the fire pit, overhead, important. Maybe some big trees or plants were planted. We just want to make sure that those are away from everything. And then always remember, start small. Just turn that gas on a little bit and ignite that burner and let that thing slowly ramp up and get that flame going on the burner before you turn it on high. And then, as always, just the clearances are important, but just be aware of your overall surroundings. Make sure the kids aren't around when you're getting that thing fired up for that first time. Everybody's standing back. It's been sitting a while. So we don't know what the dynamics if anything's changed depending on your particular product or what was installed, if something rusted out and generated some major holes and pits in that burner over the winter time. We just don't know. So we want to take all precautions. I would even probably go to the extent of maybe even having a small fire extinguisher right next to you in that very first initial fire up.
You have fire-related questions, and we have answers. You can email us your questions at podcast@woodlanddirect.com or give us a call at 586-221-3638. We would love to be able to answer them right here on the Experts in Fire podcast.
Yeah, that's excellent, Randy. Safety, safety, safety. I know it seems like such an easy thing to do. You think of a barbecue grill and you're like, what? I just pull it out and I open it up and I start it. I get it. I feel the same way. But this thing's been sitting outside the whole off season, let's say, for all of our listeners out there. And I try to use the example, we have a cabin. You've been up to our cabin on the west side of the state there, and we have a gas stove in there, and you got to run down and turn on the propane and run back up, and that first start is always click, 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 click. Wait for it, but a big woof is coming. You have to picture the same thing when you're out there. Keep the kids safe, keep them away. They're going to be excited, if they're around going, yeah, we're going to have a fire. Just make sure everything is taken care of. One of the big temptations is it's that first nice night, and you want to go out and just turn it on. And so many people do that, and that is where you can run into trouble. With moisture buildup in the pan itself or around the burner itself, with the debris that you talked about, Randy, and not to mention, if you're going to try and burn this and not clean everything up first, you're also potentially going to do damage to the system that you've spent a lot of good money on to put into place. So fight that temptation. Do the cleanup first. Walk through the checklist for sure.
Yeah, and just to touch on real quick too, because everybody's fire pits may be a little bit different in aspect of how they're starting them. We kind of briefly went over a very simple scenario of, and really that was like a matchlight style of fire pit where somebody's turning a key valve and using like a barbecue lighter maybe to light it. The step up from that is typically folks may have like a push button battery operated ignition system. Before you do anything, folks, let's replace a battery, pull the old battery out, put a brand new one in so that at least you have a good source there. Because one of the things that may have happened is if you left the battery in there, that battery may have corroded over wintertime and that sparker may not work at all. Then, of course, we have our some fire pits may operate and electronically, a wall switch or some type of smart home system. Just making sure that you have the power source, make sure, flip that power on. Maybe you shut it off for the fall season just so it didn't get turned on accidentally. So just check that power source to make sure that's on as well.
Yeah, you bring up a solid point, Randy, because everybody defines a fire pit differently, right? And we work in so many different areas, from the homeowner who's looking for something that's quasi-mobile, right? I mean, it might take a couple people to pick it up, but at least it's got a hidden tank and those types of things.
Correct, yeah.
All the way to the professionals, and I know you're working on a big project out in the hills of Hollywood at a pretty notable place out there. So, it's large gas lines, multiple electronic ignition points, and so you have these extremes and everything in between. I guess the best thing we could say is just remember, even though it's enjoyable, it's pleasurable, it is one of the things that I love to do, you're still playing with fire. So be smart. And that's where we would give a shout out to all of our gas pros and our professionals out there who listen and just say, this is where you can lean on a gas pro and they're going to take care of this for you and you're not going to have to worry about it. Might be the best thing to do for those who are looking at, their burner, their pan. They spend a lot of money on it. Why would I try and do this myself, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are some things that if I were to sit back and say, hey, I'm just going to have my guy come out, what could I kind of expect to see him do if I were sitting there watching? Because I am that guy. Sorry, sorry to our pros. I'm the guy that's going to stand over your shoulder and be like, hey, what you doing?
Yeah, yeah.
They hate me. I know they do.
What's that do? What's that do? No, our pros. One thing for sure is, if you are doing this kind of checklist on your own for your own fire pit, is if for any reason you are going to fire it up and you're turn the gas supply on and you hear any type of gargling that sounds like you've got water in that gas line. I would stop right there and call somebody, get somebody out. A few of the things that the pros are obviously going to do is get that line blown out and get it cleared out, get that water out of that system. Maybe that fire pit wasn't covered all winter long, so all that rain and snow just sat there, melted, and did backfill that line up. And that's where you definitely need to get somebody out there, gas professional, to get out there and blow that line out. And then what they're also going to do is they're going to go through and check and confirm all of your gas line connections are tight, secure, nothing went bad. They will probably do some type of pressure check and get that thing operating correctly. And or if that burner did rot out, get that thing replaced while they're on site. So that you definitely want to lean in your pros from a safety, because they're going to be able to dig a little bit deeper, because you may have we have a lot of folks, we do a lot of brick paver style fire pit forms.
Yep.
And we have drop-in burners where, our clients, the homeowners, they're not seeing the controls, the connections underneath it. And our contractor clients, those are the gas plumbers are going to come out and pull all of that out and actually get into the meat and potatoes, of that fire pit and make sure everything is safe for everybody.
Yeah, I'm picturing them coming out and pulling that media out like you talked about earlier, pulling the pan out, even taking some soapy water and spraying it on the fittings as they turn the gas, pressurize the line, just making sure that no leaks have come about over the off season. Nothing's happened there. I mean, ultimately, it is a small price to pay someone to come out and do that work for you, in comparison to any type of injury that could occur because something is malfunctioning inside your fire pit. So I tell you what, I watch these DIY channels. I love them. Man, there are some great shows out there. But they always seem to make fire pit in the backyard so tertiary and unimportant that it bothers me. Not to the point of anger, maybe to the point of disgust, because if it can light, there's danger involved.
Absolutely.
And it seems so small sometimes. So be smart, be safe out there, and understand that this is going to be fun for the entire season.
Yeah, it's one of those little things out there. We pay folks to come out and blow out our sprinkler lines every year and come out and get them re-engaged. But this is kind of one of those things that gets overlooked in bringing a pro out there, and it's much more dangerous than blowing water out of a line that waters our grass. So, and that there's nothing wrong with the ladder of the grass. It's safety, safety, safety. It's a gas line or a portable propane tank in our backyard. So we want to do as much as we can safety wise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Randy, is there anything else you could think of that folks may want to consider as they're preparing their pre-existing gas fire pit for this year's first use?
Not that I can think of. Just keep safety in mind when you're doing this setup, and enjoy it. We've got a little bit of time before we see spring around here, but for all of our friends and family and clients on the Midwest and West Coast, you guys enjoy your fire pits tomorrow.
I mean, literally tomorrow. No, I love it. I love it. And as always, if our listeners have any questions, comments, that maybe they have a topic that they want to bring up and get in front of us, there are multiple ways that you can get in contact with us. And also to see some of the projects that we've helped customers and contractors bring to life. So you can check us out on Instagram, you can check us out on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and all you got to do is type in Woodland Direct. So thanks for listening. I really appreciate all of our listeners out there, and please reach out. We'd love to have a conversation about what you would like to know more about. So until next time, signing off. Randy Mowry. You got to say Randy Mowry. And then I say
Randy Mowry.
Mike
Signing off.
Bernard. See you next time.
Join us next time for What's the Difference Between a Chimney Cap, Chimney Pot, or Chimney Shroud? We'll see you then.